Alright boys, before we get into today's video, I gotta let you guys know about our special sponsor for today, which is Aniba.com. If you guys ever wondered, where can I get games for the low, Aniba.com is the spot. You can pick up titles like Battlefield 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, Mortal Kombat 11 for a decently reduced price. Plus it's available for all consoles and launchers, so if you guys have Origin or Steam, you can find the appropriate keys available for whatever launcher you guys are using. I don't know about you guys, but I'm about to go on a huge buying spree, so get in on it while you can before keys start selling out. Go to the link in the description and sign up and use code iZam and get a 3% discount off your purchase. Alright, that's enough sponsor time. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video and I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Hey, be a squid and subscribe to my mediocrity. How's it going, my squids? Today we're going to be doing the Conan Exiles official review, and it's been a weird couple days just playing this game. I've just been kind of on and off, and then like I think all day yesterday I spent just playing the fucking game, just trying to do some exploration, trying to get a feel of what the environment is like, what the different environments are like, and the NPCs, so on and so forth. And it's been an interesting just impression with the game. I definitely think it's leagues better than Ark, both in performance and just what it has to offer. Now, unfortunately, you're going to hear a lot of like, oh, Conan does this better than Ark does this better than Conan, because I mean they're so similar. Like you can draw like pinpoint like just situations where it's the same shit. I'm gonna do my best to keep it to a minimum, but let's go ahead and get on with it. So Conan Exiles is a survival game like Ark, and the idea for it is not necessarily based around dinosaurs, you know, taming dinosaurs, hunting dinosaurs. This is purely based on like the Conan universe. If you guys have ever seen Conan, or just the Conan the Barbarian or whatever, this is probably more towards like the older generation, because I doubt, you know, kids nowadays know what the fuck Conan is. But for you older folks out there, I'm sure you know what the hell I'm talking about. Everybody knows he was this badass barbarian that just went around lopping people in half and heads going everywhere and just blood flowing in the desert. It was a lot of badass shit. Crazy good. Honestly, it was crazy good, and it was one of my favorite things to watch as a kid, even though I shouldn't have been watching it as a kid, but I was. Anyway, it's within that realm, right? And the whole concept for it is honestly a lot better than Ark's, in my personal opinion, especially when it comes to the storytelling and just kind of the way they do things. There's not much of a story, mind you, but just I like how it's kind of been done a little bit better, where you talk to actual NPCs versus reading some books and stuff like that, so you actually get some personality along with what's going on within the game. Now, what's interesting to me is the performance on Xbox One. This is kind of just more towards Xbox One since it was released on May 8th. It was officially released on May 8th, but it came out in beta like I think last month or something. So just as a thing, this is strictly for Xbox One. But as far as I can tell, I've been playing it for probably about 4 or 5 days now, and it's been quite the interesting experience, because I was expecting the performance to be straight up trash. Like Ark, I don't want to say it's trash, but Ark has this really strange habit of just constantly freezing every now and then, like especially when you go into new areas or where there's a lot of fauna, or where there's a lot of just, you know, activity and stuff, and it's very dense with just pixels everywhere. It tends to kind of freeze up, and then after like a couple seconds it'll go from unfreeze and then it'll be good to go. Conan does not do that. I'm not sure if that's an isolated problem with me in terms of Ark, but as far as I could tell, it seems that it just overall Conan runs a lot more smoother. I don't really get a lot of frame drops, so granted there's not a whole lot going on. It's mainly desert. Once you get to kind of like the more active areas within the green areas that tend to have more life to it, and then when you get to the ice area, you may see some like weird FPS drop from time to time, but for the most part it tends to be pretty minuscule, and unless you're spawning a shit ton of stuff in there and doing like these weird all-out war battles, it really doesn't seem to be affected by anything really. One of the most important things that I kind of want to note right now is the combat, which is something that I'm really in love with, because this is the barbaric combat that you would expect from a game that's, you know, going to paste Conan on the front cover. Now, this is the part where they differ from Ark very, very much, because this is based on melee combat. You've got a few different styles of builds you can do. Ark, yes, you can do certain builds and whatnot that benefit for certain situations, but for the most part, this one can be geared a lot more towards PvP, and you can definitely do some interesting things. I think I saw earlier from a guy named Just Horse. Go check him out. he's great dude, just runs like a pretty decent channel that actually posts Conan, and he knows what the fuck he's doing, more than I do, by the way. So just, I was watching it, and a lot of the stuff that he was pointing out makes sense, where you could do this thief build, and it's kind of like a sabotage build where you can climb buildings, avoid traps, so on and so forth, depending on the proper build you run. So that's the type of thing that I'm talking about, where the combat can be tied to what actually you're building into. Whereas in Ark, you kind of have this, you know, just base with big ass dinosaurs, and for the most part, your skills and whatnot kind of just really don't make a difference, because you can make guns, you can, you know, make really beefed up melee weapons and armor and so on and so forth. So it's not really based in that weird combat aspect. Now, specifically talking about the combat outside of the builds, what you can do is actually get combinations with each individual weapon. I've played with pretty much every single one of them, and that was the selling point for me right there, was the weapons. The variety that you can get, even with the DLC, even though it's essentially just kind of the same stats as the regular ones, it's the aesthetics that make me fucking happy, especially like the Turin pack, where I can just, you end up looking like the dudes from 300 if you build the right armor. So it's just a really dope pack in my personal opinion. Not to mention you can get something like a war elephant, a war rhino, or I don't think they're called war elephant or I think they're called caravan, but nonetheless they're still badass. But going back to the combat, the different combinations that you can actually have, like with a spear you can do this kind of crazy, like, you know, just poke from a distance, roll away, and just you can get really cheap with the spear, especially when you're doing melee combat from one person to another player. So you can get kind of interesting, and sometimes you have to, you know, play around that and understand that some people are going to be gay about it. So you can, you know, use a bow, you've got throwing axes, not to mention you can kind of like pseudo dual wield. It's not necessarily total dual wielding. The only weapons that are actually dual wieldable are daggers, and I wouldn't really consider them dual wield. Like, it's just daggers that count as like one weapon, but he's dual wielding them. But so like if you have like two swords, you can't dual wield them like that. But what you can do is get a one-handed weapon and hold a throwing axe in the other hand, and that's considered dual wielding, and you actually get combos out of it, which is when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to get around the lack of, you know, of versatility when it comes to dual wielding weapons. Because I feel like in a game that has barbarians, like dual wielding, like, come on, that's got to be a thing, really. Like, you can't tell me that I can't not hold two giant axes and beat the shit out of someone like that. Like, that's got to come in a patch soon, right? But aside from that, having played with each individual weapon, just the combos are so smooth, they're silky smooth, like, and it requires you to have this kind of brain strategy here that, okay, if he's gonna go for this move, if I roll back and then I do the lunge move, I'm gonna punish. So it kind of has this like fighting game For Honor style, like not to the T, obviously. It's just, you have to kind of think about punishing your opponent, rolling out of the way at the right time, making sure that you're, you know, just kind of putting into practice some fighting game elements, which is important, because if you're 1v1ing someone or even 2v1ing, you have to get really smart or just run away. So depending on your playstyle, this game kind of has a versatile arsenal in order for you to actually get down and fucking murder people. Next thing I want to talk about is the environments. I kind of have already spoken about it a little bit, but the environments are very, very like fulfilling in my personal opinion. I do wish that the map was a little bit bigger, but I will say I think it's actually bigger than Ark's map. Maybe that's wrong to say that. I don't know. I didn't measure, but the point being is that I think the map needs a little bit more. There's an ice area, there's a desert area, and then there's like a kind of, you know, the lively area with all the woods and stuff like that. So you have your kind of three different areas, and whenever you want to set up, you have a decent amount of choices. But for the most part, I kind of just wish there was a little bit more. There's also a volcanic area that I kind of forgot about, but going there is a fucking mistake right out the gate, because I kind of went there just to see what was going on, and I fucking died. And by no means me saying that is like, oh, that's a deal breaker, no new areas or no more areas, that's it, I can't buy the game. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just, you know, speaking in terms of what I would like to see in the future, obviously. And the last thing I kind of want to touch on is the PvP elements and just the PvE elements. So for me, I tend to enjoy PvE, especially when I get to customize everything and I get to, you know, have admin privileges and I can just make my own shit whenever I feel like it. That aspect to me is very important in a game, because you're giving me X amount of freedom to do whatever I want, and that's what I like, especially whenever you're paying for a video game. However much money you're paying for, the more freedom you have, the more I think you're getting for your buck. You know what I'm saying? So if I pay $60 for a game and it gives me like very little freedom, to me that's a ripoff. But if I pay $30 for a game and it gives me so much freedom, then I just robbed you. That's just my mentality, right? So this game, it runs on like the server base. When it comes to Ark, it's the same situation. You can host a server, whatever, rent a server, and then you can have players on it, whatever, you know, alpha tribes, so on and so forth. So that's where the PvP element thrives at, obviously on servers, but you also have the options of the PvP, or PvE I mean, and that's where you can create your own little world. You can do single player or you can do active co-op, which is really great because you can just basically, you know, live in the environment with whoever and whatever. If you got a girlfriend or something that enjoys the same type of games, you can split screen, or if you're doing long distance relationship, you guys can just play it up together and just, you know, just play the game and live together in this wonderful environment that you guys are going to have to survive in at some point. That right there is the second selling point, is giving me the freedom to do what I want. So as you guys know, in Ark you can do admin commands, and Conan Exiles does the same thing, and that's where you can just kind of have fun with it, where your whole thing is, I want to build a crazy castle or a really insane tree house or just stuff like that. It makes for just, you know, great kill time because you're just kind of mindlessly building stuff. It's like Minecraft, but you know, not Minecraft because not pixels, but you get the point. One of my favorite things to do is just kind of build up an army, a decent sized base, and just kind of fill it in my own single player environment and just have fun with it. I'll go around and just recruit a bunch of people, put them in my castle, and then just go to town and go adventuring, bring my armies with me, spawn them outside of places, and just watch them go to war with each other. And it's just honestly a really interesting experience, just being able to play around with like admin tools, and you can spawn stuff in, experiment with different stuff. So it gives you an idea and options to kind of just have your own kind of fun while being able to just play the game legitimately as well. So that amount of freedom right there just earns a huge pass for me, plus the performance and everything that runs well on Xbox One, as well as the combat. You can't really go wrong with Conan Exiles. I'm going to recommend it to the max. I'm not going to say it's better than Ark. I'm not going to say it's, well, you know, whatever, even though I kind of already did in the beginning, but you get the point. You know, it's a good game. Ark's got its thing. You know, if dinosaurs are your thing and you want to tame dinosaurs, I'm not going to deny that's a cool concept and everything. You know, having your own pet Jurassic Park and shit, I get it. It's a cool concept, but for me, I'm more about that barbaric combat sort of thing. I get my army, I get to, you know, be a commander, whatever, and I get to have my own imagination and have my own fun in that regard. So do what you guys want. If you guys want to play Ark, play Ark. If you guys want to play Conan, play Conan. Honestly, if you got both, I wouldn't even be mad at you because I own both, so who cares? Anyway, that concludes today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Remember to check out Conan Exiles, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.